everyone, I'm Sandy Caldwell and welcome to the fourth episode of Quilt Cabana Corner Videocast. I hope you've had a chance to join me on the other three videos that are listed on YouTube, as well as the sewing room tour. On today's episode, we're going to be taking a look at what's on the cutting board. I have a magazine to review, which is the June 2012 issue of Quilter's World. And then I wanted to share with you a few items that I received for Mother's Day. Take a quick look at the Sew Simple embroidery book and my new Sashiko kit. And I also wanted to take a minute to thank Glenna in Texas, Pat in Louisiana, Pumpkin Seed 45, Katie, Becky, Sue, and Cobalt Cat for the comments that you've left on YouTube. I'm hoping to get to everyone's comments and reply to them. And I just want to thank you all for listening to the podcast and tuning into the videocast. So go get your cup of coffee and let's get going on this episode. I just wanted to take a minute to respond to one of the questions left on the YouTube channel, and that was, how did I hang up these quilts in my sewing room? These are hung up with a product that I got at Keepsake Quilting, and I also got at Clotilde, although I cannot find them on Clotilde anymore. But they're called Quilter's Mini Hangers or Quilter's Mini Hang-Ups. And on the Keepsake Quilting website, you can get 4 in a package, so that's enough to hang 2 quilts, for $23.95. And on Clotilde, they used to have them for $10 for a set of 2, but I can't find them anymore on the Clotilde website. So these just hang on a nail, and then there's a little screw there. I don't know if you can see too well, but there's a screw, and the quilt just slips up inside, and then you tighten the screw, and that's it. And they come in, I think, white and black and ash. These are the ash ones. And they're very simple to use, and I like them very much. So, of course, the larger size would be for larger quilts, and they probably cost a bit more. But Keepsake Quilting, type in Quilter's Hang-Ups or Quilter's Hangers, something to that effect, and you will find them. Thanks for the question. So I have a few things on the cutting board this week. First of all, on Saturday, my mom and I enjoyed a wonderful early Mother's Day down at the Quilter's Stash store in North Attleboro, Mass. And we also had lunch, and it was just a really lovely day for us. And while we were there, we were checking out the landscape fabrics, and we came across this piece, which is a product of South Seas Imports, and I think it's an older print because I can't find it anywhere online today. And I want to say it was part of their Garden Path or Garden Gate collection or something. But it's, as you can see, it's awesome because it has all these clumps of flowers that are perfectly placed together for easy, fussy cutting. And there's green all behind the flowers already, so you probably don't have to cut too much greenery either. And I think it's going to be really great for when I get to work on this quilt, which I started some time ago. This is what it's going to look like. This was taken at a farm down the road from our house, and the lighting really isn't too great here, but this is what it's going to look like, and I'm going to use that piece of fabric to really help make those flowers pop on it. So hopefully I'll get to working on that sometime soon, maybe this summer. But I thought that piece of fabric was definitely worth mentioning because it's just such a great one for landscapes. So check it out if you're at your store and there's a landscape section. Maybe you can pick up a piece. So also on the cutting board this week, I'm working on my third Fusoscope quilt. And Fusoscopes are my version of kaleidoscope quilts. This is one I made recently. And up here on my wall, that's another one that I made. That was the first one I made. So now I'm working on quilt number 3, and I'm hoping to actually turn this into a workshop that I could teach at a guild. So this Fusoscope for this week is on a red background. And it's going to have some silver and some gold. And I'm currently deciding whether I want to add in a blue and green kaleidoscope onto that background or just keep it silver and gold. So you'll have to tune in on another episode to find out what I ended up doing. But that's what I'm working on this week on the cutting board. For the magazine roundup today, I have the Quilter's World June 2012 issue. This is what it looks like. There were a few interesting projects in here with beautiful colors, and my mother is the one who subscribes to this magazine, and I usually get it from her and take a quick look and kind of just put it in the discard pile. But I don't think I give this magazine enough credit because there were some really beautiful projects in here and a lot of good information. So if you're glossing over Quilter's World, maybe give it a little more time for this issue. The first thing that I liked was in their favorite finds section. And you can see right here, it's a needle sharpening pad, which is this, which just goes underneath the presser foot of your sewing machine, and you just sew over it and it sharpens your needles. But what caught my eye this time is now they have a pin cushion that goes on your wrist and you can sharpen your pins in it. So I believe that this pad is about $9.95 and the pin cushion that goes on your wrist is about $14.95. And I do find that this product works, by the way. So if you find you have dull pins, you might want to give that a try, and then you don't have to replace all your pins. The next thing I liked in this magazine was this quilt called Tropics. This was designed and quilted by Nancy McNally. And what I liked about this was how, well, besides everything, how she did her borders. Because I think normally you find that it's the binding that maybe switches off color as it goes around, and this time it was the border. And I think I was very drawn to the pretty colors in it as well. So I like that. I love this one for the 4th of July. This is designed by Gina Gempsaw, and I really loved the rickrack. That's what really drew me to it, that big, beautiful, jumbo red rickrack. Next, I enjoyed this article, Hand Dyeing Basics, because as you know, I'm hand dyeing fabric. Everybody does it a little differently, so this article, called for a few chemicals that I don't use when I'm dyeing my fabric, but the process was pretty much the same. So it's an interesting read for someone who's into fabric dyeing, especially a beginner. And the last project that I wanted to share with you is by Susan Getman, and these are called Sun and Fun Bibs, and I just love the colors. I think they're adorable. So if you have a library close to you, you might want to go see if they have some back issues of Quilter's World, because I really enjoyed the projects in this issue. So that's the magazine roundup. Next, we're going to talk about a few items I received for Mother's Day and a project that I'm working on. So I'm actually going to just show you here. I got a Sashiko coaster set that I can work on, and you see a lot of Japanese writing here. When I first opened it, I went, uh-oh, how am I going to do this? It's all in Japanese. But there are directions in English as well. If you've been thinking about getting into Sashiko and you subscribe to the Quilt Show, Peppa Corey did an excellent segment on how to do this Japanese art form, and she has some beautiful projects on there. This kit is made by Olympus. It came with the Sashiko thread, a special thimble that I'm not quite sure how this works yet because I haven't gotten into it, a little packet with the needles, and of course the fabric with the design on it. Now you can't go running this through the washing machine before you start your project because it's a washout design. You'll end up with just a plain blue piece of fabric, and that won't be so hot when you try to go make your stitches. So I'm going to actually watch the Peppa Corey segment again just because it was so excellent and their camera angle was great and I could really see what she was doing. And I will use her directions in conjunction with these and see what I can get done on this summer. So like I said, you don't have to be afraid that they're all in Japanese because there are English directions underneath. So I'm looking forward to working on that. And the next thing I want to show you is this book. It's a leisure arts book, and it's been around for a while. They sell it at Michael's. I got it with a coupon. Let's see, the retail price is $8.95, so I probably got it for about $5. And it's called So Simple Embroidery. And I'm going to take the camera over to my cutting table for a minute because I want to show you why I'm using this book. So join me in 1 second at the cutting table. So this is an embroidery project that I showed you in one of the, maybe the first episode of the Videocast. And I did finish it, and I did hang it in my craft room. And don't tell anyone, but that is actually a Tinker Toy stick that I used to hang the quilt because I was too lazy to cut a dowel. So I went and raided the Tinker Toy box, which my kids haven't played with in years, so I really don't feel too badly about that. So if you're in a bind and you got Tinker Toys laying around, there's a good tip for you. The green one works perfectly for my little quilt. This was done with embroidery stitching and fabric painting. And now I'm going to take you over to show you the new one that I'm working on, because once I finished this little one, I was so hot to get on to a new project. So I spent Saturday, I'll walk you over this way, I spent Saturday painting and doodling up a new one to work on. So this is the new one. It looks a little wrinkly here. I didn't have time to really smooth it out too well. But I doodled with my Sharpie and I pulled out my fabric paints. I did some watercolor painting with it. I let it dry. I heat set it. And then I started doing some of the embroidery stitches. So I am back to doing the birdseed stitch, which I really like, with variegated thread. And I'm also doing some stem stitching here with the green. And it's a little bit tough to see with this camera. I realize it gets blurry when I try to zoom in. But I got the new book. Hold on one minute. I have the book over here on my table. I got the new book because I want to use more embroidery stitching on these projects, because I think that they have the potential to really be so beautiful with some French knots and maybe some feather stitching. So I had bought this book, and I believe that there are, I want to say 10 stitches. This is really for embroidering on clothing, and it's a beautiful book, and they have lots of projects in it. So let me just first start by saying that. And they show you what stitches are done on each project, and then in the back they show you how to make those stitches. So, and in what colors. I'm flipping to the back here because I want you to see how they show you how to do the stitching. But look at this. This is just gorgeous, with daisies and sunflowers, and they're jazzing up their jacket cuffs and baskets and all kinds of things. And the directions are pretty good. And I'm getting here to the back. Hold on just 1 minute. My fingers don't want to turn the pages too well today. These are some of my favorite stitches right here. I can't wait to try some of this stuff. It'll be very pretty on a pillowcase. Okay, so this is what I wanted to show you. They do show you how to make each stitch pretty clearly. There's the herringbone stitch, feather stitch, fly stitch, stem stitch, lazy daisy, running stitch, blanket stitch, satin stitch, long stitch, and French knot. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 stitches that are included in this book. So I think if you can get it with a coupon for $4 or $5, this is definitely a keeper of a book to have around. And then in the back, they show you how to combine those stitches to come up with your own designs. So I thought that was pretty cool. And like I said, I don't know how many I can work on to this project because I didn't have the book when I started to doodle this out and paint it, but I'm going to try to add some, and I'll keep you updated on the progress. So that's going to do it for this episode of the Quilt Cabana Videocast. Thanks so much for joining me, and I hope that you'll join me again next Thursday for another magazine review and to see what's on my cutting board. And I'm going to have a few other things to share with you. So have a super week, and thanks again for joining me. And if you're enjoying the videocast, please leave me a comment and let me know what you think, and share the videocast with your friends. Thank you. Bye-bye.